jobs. And I'm looking at her going, but which part of we can't afford to go there did she not understand? So we have people who are making decisions where their money doesn't match their idealism. And look, I'm down with go where you think you want to go. But look, I couldn't afford to go to a private school. My brother was in school, I was in school, my sister at the same time. So Texas A&M was perfectly fine for all three of us because I had to understand where my parents were. But when we talk about changing how we view education in this country, we literally are forcing people to only have the option of four-year school or nothing else. When 65% of the jobs in America are actually created or trained at community colleges. Remember I said my mindset a little bit earlier? Here's the point about mindset. We have people in this country who have been trained to say, oh my God, a community college, that's the 13th grade. We do. Parents will say, I'm proud my son's going to Morehouse. My daughter's going to Spelman. But if you say they go to Kennedy King College, well, you know, they go to Kennedy King College for a couple of years. It is as if that's less than. I'll give you an example in terms of how you look at changing education. ComEd in Chicago. They had a shortage of the people who climbed those power lines. And, you know, the fiber optic stuff, I don't know, you know, I just use the internet. So they had a shortage. So ComEd gets with Kennedy King College in Chicago. They create a 9-month certification program. 9 months. Go through this program. The program, they taught them and trained them according to what ComEd needed. What do you think the starting salary was for these jobs after 9-month certification program? Just throw a number out. Just 65, 50. Starting salary, 70 grand. Experienced technicians, $120,000. 9-month certification program. Community college. That's how you are able to pair people up who have high school diplomas, who don't go to four-year institutions. You effectively utilize a community college, and you match folks with existing jobs. Right now in America, we have 3 million jobs that go unfilled right now. Corporations are saying, we can't find the people to do it. I keep saying, fine. You should get with a system to train people specifically for those jobs because you know you're going to need X number of people over the next 5, 10 years. Instead, we have another system that says, well, just go to school, take a bunch of different classes, pick a degree, and then you get out later. Again, I'm not dissing four-year institution, but what I'm saying is, at some point, we have to have a sense of realism when it comes to how we are looking at education. Education in America, to me, is not solely based on go to high school, go to a four-year school. It means that there are some people who will go to a four-year school, some folks who will go to a two-year school, some folks who will go to technical schools, and all of those folks are getting a form of education that's different, but that still satisfies the requirements of work in this country. And that's one of the things you see with the Obama administration, how they have actually changed the funding model in terms of focusing on not just four-year schools, but also those two-year schools. That again requires a change of thinking. It's very rare to even find a scholarship to go to a non-four-year college. It's very rare. Most scholarships say you got to go to a four-year. And so what I'm saying when it comes to education, we have to begin to operate, and this is now 21st century, and we're now operating differently. My nieces right now, 2 of them go to a virtual academy where they actually essentially homeschool, but they literally are in a learning environment that's all virtual. They are on Facebook communicating with their classmates as if they're in a classroom. I had a state rep in Chicago who wanted to get rid of one of the virtual academies I had on the radio show, and I said, you ever talk to the parents? No. You ever talk to any of the students at the virtual academy? No. I said, well, help me out. You trying to get rid of something you never even know anything about. She said, well, I believe in brick and mortar. better than some adults? The point is, our world has changed, and we have to be willing to change with our world. I'm gonna make this last point, and this is my most important point. Y'all are the educators. We cannot have an education discussion in America being led by civil rights folks. Let me be clear. We can't have an education discussion. We're talking about what's happening with black children, and when I'm sitting on panels or I'm watching discussions, I'm seeing NAACP, Urban League, Rainbow Push, National Action Network, and the first thing I'm saying is, anybody up there an educator? And this is the challenge for you as leadership. That means as leadership, and I'm in the communications business, you are going to have to get far more aggressive when it comes to messaging. When it comes to communication. Anytime there's a discussion on television, on radio, in newspapers, in magazines, online, about what's happening with educating our children, specifically black children, and you are not included, you should be mad as hell and let them know, how dare you not reach out to us. But it also means, as an organization, you get far more aggressive at driving the message. It means that when you begin to see things coming down the pipeline, you are alerting folks and letting them know, look, we have people who are available to talk about this or this or this in multiple places. From the national perspective to the state to local. Because do understand that in the communication business, and look, I turned 44 yesterday. I went to Magnet Communication School in Houston, Jack Yates. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know this business. And it's the people who have sophisticated communication systems who are the ones who get called, who are the ones who are providing expertise to the country. And I can tell you right now, too often, when there's an education conversation, you're not there. You're missing in action. And so from a leadership standpoint, you should be looking at how do we redefine this conversation about education to ensure at the National Alliance of Black School Educators, it's not simply an add-on, but it's a leading voice in restructuring the discussion about education.
Yes.
And some folks might say, well, you know, it's a little tough because I don't have time, but do understand you got to make time. You got to realize that when we're operating in a 24-hour news cycle, those voices that you're hearing are critical. I just don't believe every time there's an education conversation, I need to hear from the head of a teacher's union. Nothing against them. But I believe I need to hear other voices. When I'm hearing discussions about black kids and education, no disrespect, but I'm not trying to see a civil rights leader. When we begin to have discussions about education, literally, I see folks turn into CEOs, turn into former generals, turn into everybody else but the very folks who are operating in the vineyards every single day. And that means when things are coming down the pipeline, there is no reason why I shouldn't be bombarded with emails saying we are available. Understand how this works. The way this system works is all of a sudden, you see a story, boom, at 6 o'clock in the morning, something that appeared on some website on CNN about education. The other folks immediately are sending out alerts. We have expert people available who can talk about this here. Debate nights. They watch the presidential debates. That night, they were sending alerts. Our folks are available as experts to discuss the lack of education being discussed in last night's debate. They're not waiting 2-3 days.